Hey there, this is Rick. I hope everyone's having a great day. Right then, I think it's about time we did another allotment video. Been a little while since I've done one of these. I've been away on holiday for a while, and so everything's gone a little bit wild in places, but there's also a lot that I did before I went away, so I kind of want to show you around that. Now at the moment it's raining, which is rather nice actually, because it's really hot again, so it's actually nice to step out into the rain, but it's also nice to hear the little pitter-patter of rain on the polytunnel here. Okay, well let's start you first off with the sweet potato slips. Now these were what Sean brought down when he came down to visit a few weeks ago, and as you can see they're doing extremely well. They're absolutely just going for it. So they almost look like a vine. Well, I suppose in a way potato is a vine, isn't it? I mean, it's related to the tomato, and the tomato is a vine. So it's sort of, but I mean, this is like, you know, seriously vining, as opposed to potatoes, which normally sort of just come straight up. The tomatillo has just gone for it. It seems to love it here. Sorry, tomatillo, not tomatillo. And it started out life as a tiny little plant, and as you can see, it's just gone for it. And the same for the arrowroot. Now I have no idea what to do with arrowroot. I'm going to have to look it up. I don't even know when it's likely to be ready or what to look for, but it has at least sort of 5 or 6, you know, it's at least 5 or 6 times bigger than it was. These tiny little French beans. I'm not even going to bother with French beans next year. Every time I grow French beans, I end up with these tiny little plants that, you know, produce like 1 or 2 pea pods, and that's it. I don't know what it is I'm doing wrong with French beans, but I've never ever had success with them. Even like this is probably about the biggest French bean I've ever grown, and it's still fairly not impressive, if you see what I mean. Look at this basil, fantastic, really going for it. Some of it's going to seed now, but which is a shame, because I've actually got a red tomato over here, which I'm going to pick. I'm going to pick now because I can. Here we go. Very first tomato of the year. Let's give it a go. It tastes nothing like the tomatoes you get at the supermarket. There's definitely substance to the suggestion that homegrown food tastes better. Good grief, I've just noticed all of the flower pods on this particular tomato plant. There are hundreds of them. That's pretty impressive. So I just hope that we get a really good crop of potatoes a bit later on. That would be nice. Just spotted another red tomato here. Ooh, I'm going to have that one. There we go, 2 red tomatoes. Nice. And that was the one grown in a bucket. So, talking of tomatoes grown in buckets, this is that little experiment that I was doing to see how little soil I could get away with. Now I've been watering this and feeding this quite often, and what we've ended up with is quite a nice tall plant, but not very big tomatoes. In fact, this tomato is green, but it's looking a little shriveled. So I think it's probably not a brilliant idea. You're going to get something, but it's not going to be that impressive, especially when you compare it to these guys over here who are doing extremely well. And although they're still not doing as well as perhaps they could be, but again I think that's all part of the the learning curve. I think next year I'm going to use better prepared soil and perhaps even more food than I've been doing. I've been feeding them like once a week. I know most people say, well, that's all you need, but I don't know, maybe a little bit more food, we'll see. Now the grapes they're sort of slowly one by one turning red. Now I have tasted some of these red grapes and they're a lot sweeter than the green ones, but they're not that nice, to be honest. So like I say, whether I carry on with grapes again next year, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I'll have to reevaluate next year. This is rocket that I planted about 2 weeks ago. It's starting to come up nicely now, so I can start thinning it out and using the thinnings in salads and things, which is good. Blooming aeroplane. Whenever you get a nice day, we've got a little airfield down the road and they do parachute jumps, and whenever you get a nice day, all you hear is that all the time. You're sat in your back garden and all you hear is this droning, and it goes on and on and on and on, and they do sortie after sortie after sortie, and it's quite intrusive, and there are loads and loads of people who want this place to just sort of not do it anymore, and it's just doesn't look like it's going to happen. It looks like we're going to have to put up with it forevermore, which is a bit sad really, but there we go. Now, in the bed where I originally grew potatoes and had that bit of a disaster where half the potatoes went rotten, I've actually planted peas. The whole bed I've planted with peas, and they're starting to come up, as you can see there. So hopefully this should be a really good, nice late crop of peas. I've also thrown some in here as well. Now, coming outside to the bamboo shack, it's all starting to grow, starting to do what it says on the label, which is good. And I've pulled my little crate out here. Now if I give these flowers another hour or so, they'll all fill out. They dried out a little bit because I couldn't make it down here yesterday to water them, but I've since watered them and they're looking a lot healthier. But there we go, that's what the yellow flowers look like, and they are called Rudbeckia marmalade. But hopefully at some point in the very near future I'm going to come down here and loads of flowers will be out, and it'll be a really nice display. Might need to readjust those leaves, look, so you can see the name. Now a lot of people keep asking me about this blue tarpaulin area. This is actually next door's allotment, and I haven't seen the lady that normally comes here. I haven't seen her all year, so she's obviously given it a miss this year, but I'm hoping she'll be back, so that because the problem is we've got to keep the weeds in trim down between the plot, because what happens is when you sort of have a neglected plot, what happens is the weeds will grow up and then it throws seeds all over your growing area, and it can be a right pain. I've actually had to go over that with weed killer just to stop the grass seeds dropping into the bed, but I think it might be a bit too late because a lot of the seeds I've already sort of saw in the bed there. Here we have more peas. This was again one of the potato growing beds, and I've replanted it up with lots of peas, and they're coming out really well. The wood on here is to stop the cats crapping in it, which they seem to take great delight in doing. This is my lettuce bed. I've planted a load of lettuce, but only a small number of them have come up. Now I don't know what it is about Little Gem and me, but I think I've got the same issue I've got with the French beans as I have with Little Gem, because whenever I plant Little Gem lettuce, they don't come up. This line here and this line here are an all year round lettuce, and they seem to be coming up okay, or some of them do. But this line here and that bit there are all Little Gem, and there's like one out of the whole lot that I planted, one is coming up. So I don't know what it is I'm doing wrong, but it's a little bit frustrating. Now I probably mentioned in another video, this cloth, it's pretty rubbish, and it just disintegrates, and it's literally, I presume as the sun's baked it, it's just kind of done exactly what those blue tarpaulins did that I had over there, and it's just all disintegrated. So what I decided to do, because there was nothing growing here, I thought, well, okay, it sort of did its job by preventing things from growing here earlier in the season. So I've got a little theory going now that I've actually killed off like most of the couch grass and everything that grows here. So I decided to peg out a bed here. I've got the rotavator, yes, the rotavator, and actually I just rotavated this area. When I was churning the soil up, I couldn't see any couch grass rhizomes in the soil, so I think I've killed them all off. Anyway, this is going to be an experiment. I've just planted rows of what we got here: Chinese cabbage, pak choy, beetroot, and peas. Got loads of peas now, and I've just planted rows and rows of them, and if I can get these to grow without the weeds taking them over, it is a good indication to me that I killed off a lot of the weeds by covering this up. And if that's the case, it does mean I may be able to start thinking about growing in the ground. But of course the real test is going to be next spring when the weeds properly germinate. So I'm going to have to hold off planting in the ground until next spring has come along, and I get to judge that area there as to what the weed population is like. And if it's still, you know, mental, then I shall cover it up again and just carry on with the 1 ton bags and the paddling pools until such a time as I think that I've killed off the weeds sufficiently to be able to grow in the ground without them just overtaking everything. It's a bit of a long-term thing, that. Now, runner beans, we've actually started to get a crop, so I'm actually gonna be picking some of these before I go home, and I think they might have those for my tea. I also decided to set the beer can powered dehydrator up, and I put some parsley in here last week, and it's completely dried out. You can hear how brittle that is. I'll give that another day or two, and then I've got myself some dried parsley. I shall crush it up, put it in some jars at home, or a jar at home, and there we go. So at least I got to use my dryer this year. Regarding the experiment with the tomato plants, this tomato plant here was planted ordinarily, and these two were planted on their sides. There doesn't seem to be any comparable difference. The same goes for in here. Now we've kind of well into the season. These ones were planted ordinarily, these ones were planted on their sides, and most of them seem to be the same size except this one, which seems to be a little bit taller than all the rest, and this one was planted on its side. So to be honest, at the moment, at this stage, it doesn't seem to be a lot in it, whether you plant your tomatoes on the, strip the leaves off and plant them on their side, or whether you just plant them straight down in the ground. There again, the depth of the growing beds may have an influence here, but I'm not sure. Now the orphan bed is doing extremely well with tomatoes. We've got lots of tomato fruits here, and we're getting, look at this, look, hundreds and hundreds of flowers. So I don't know what type of tomato that is. I only literally planted Gardener's Delight and Moneymaker this year, but these are all very small tomatoes by the looks of it, because they're all so closely packed together. So they're all competing for the minerals and things in the soil. But like I say, I wasn't sort of really expecting much from this bed, but it'll be interesting to see how things progress over the next month or so. The garlic does seem to be bulbing up after all. I was getting a bit worried about it because they all look like spring onions, but I've just kind of left them alone, and they are actually getting bigger, so that's a good thing. I've also completely harvested all of the onions because they were all starting to go over, so they're now hanging up in my shed at home. I've got hundreds of them. Hopefully they should take me well into the winter. Carrots. Yeah, got some little baby carrots there. Look. Oh, that is very dinky. Yeah, these obviously need a lot longer to grow. But they're all a bit bunched together. I should have thinned them out, to be honest. Let's see if I can do that now. I'll thin a couple of them out. There we go, there's a little baby carrot. I'll give those a rinse off and take them home. I'll probably get a few more as well. So there we go, that's my humble little harvest for today. I've got a load of runner beans. This is my first harvest of runner beans, and they look pretty good. I've got a bunch of kale and some basil for my sister-in-law, and some little carrots that I thinned out, and of course some black currants, which are just ready now. They're really nice. They're completely edible now. I might just sit here and and I'm not sure what to do with these. I've got a bush full of them over there, but to be honest, I'm not into making sort of sugary things like jams and stuff at the moment, so I think I might just eat these as they are. They're sort of like little blueberries, just slightly more tart than blueberries, but probably very healthy. So that's what's happening at Rick's allotment at the moment. Not a sort of massive amount going on. I mean, there's stuff slowly progressing, and I've got a few things to plant ready for the winter. I shall do those probably in the next video. But today was literally I'd just come down here to do a bit of watering, really. Yeah, I'm sort of pleased with it so far. There's a few things I keep thinking about next year, what I want to do. I think there's a few things I will and won't do. I'll probably make a video on that, probably for my own reference, but I'll put it up anyway, and it'll be like, you know, what to do and what not to do next year, what to grow and what not to grow as well. But anyway, I'll give that some more thought before I do it. So there we go. So thanks for watching. I hope that was useful to someone, or slightly interested, wasn't too dull. And no doubt I will see you in the next video. Take care.